Alright, so I'm back with another Jobava January video. So this game was a 10-minute game that I played against a 2036. I just played this game today, and although, it wasn't a win for me, I thought it was a draw. I thought the game was very interesting and definitely worth going over, as it had a few interesting points. So let's just jump right into it. We have obviously another Jobava London after knight c3 and bishop f4 here. So, let's keep it coming. Jobava January. So he goes g6, which is a pretty common move. It's one of the ways to play it. You can just fianchetto your bishop, and then I decide to go h4, h5, and he stops that with h5. So in this position, I just go knight f3, and then typically they go bishop g4, which he does, and then I go queen d2. And typically, I'm okay with allowing this capture on f3, and I think it's usually a good idea for black to insert that. However, he goes for c6, which is honestly kind of a passive move. He still has the option to play c5 here, and I think honestly, like, since he hasn't done c6 already, he should just leave that and maybe look to play c5 later. But he's scared of knight b5, I guess, so he goes c6. And I go knight e5. This is similar to that other game that I played. I can't remember if it was my second video or third video, but this is the exact same position. So he chooses to move his bishop. In the other game, I think my opponent went knight bd7 and allowed me to get the bishop pair, but he goes bishop back to e6, which, it seems a little weird just because he's blocking his e pawn, and this knight or this bishop isn't really that great on e6. So hard to say I really like that move, but okay. I go bishop d3. He goes queen a5, and I thought for a little bit here, because normally in these positions white wants to castle queenside, but queen a5 is a little bit interesting, and I decided to go for a pretty interesting idea here. I go b4, and the idea here is if he takes on b4, I'm going to play rook b1, and I'm going to go take on b7. So he probably thought I was going to castle queenside and then he'd get a big attack over here, but I'm kind of flipping the script on him right here by playing b4. Since I haven't committed to castling queenside, I can castle kingside potentially. Even though I've played h4, my kingside isn't really that weak, so still something to consider. And he takes the pawn, which I don't think is really so great, allowing me to take on b7, but okay. And he goes bishop to c8, which is a blunder here. And if you were white here, what would you play? I'll give you a couple seconds to think about that. And I play the right move here. Rook takes b8. So the idea is after rook takes b8, you're supposed to go knight takes c6, and I just completely blanked in this position. I just completely missed knight takes c6, and I was trying to do too much in this position. So knight takes c6 is just a dead winning move. It's forking both of his pieces, and I'm just going to be winning there. However, I go for something that's not as good. It's still better for white, but I was trying to do way too much here, and I went knight takes g6. The idea is that after f takes g6, I'm going to take back with the bishop, and then I'm going to take this rook later. So I would be going up an exchange and a pawn or two. So, it's interesting, but it's definitely not nearly as good as knight takes c6. So he takes, I take, he goes king over, I take on b8. So taking stock material, I didn't go up in exchange. I went up 2 pawns versus I could have gone up much more if I had just played knight takes c6. However, I did not do that, so here I am. At least his king is less safe here. He goes bishop a6. It's going to stop me from castling, so I drop my bishop back so that I can potentially castle. He goes king up, so he can attack my bishop, and I drop my bishop back. He goes rook g8 here, and now I castle. Okay. He goes knight g4, offering a trade of bishops, which I take, and then bishop takes a6, queen takes a6, and I go e4 here. Now, this was a critical point in the game because e4 is actually a fairly good move. Just trying to rip open the D and the E files. It's actually a fairly good move if it weren't for one move that he has that I completely missed. So he plays. I'm actually shocked that the engine doesn't call this a brilliant move for him, because I think his next move is a very, very nice move that I completely missed, for good reason. It's a very counterintuitive move. So if you want to think about that, what would you play here as black to basically equalize in this position, which is incredible to me? I have trashed my advantage with e4 due to only one move. Everything else loses. Okay, the move is knight to h2, which came as a bit of a cold shower for me, because okay, if I take on h2, he's going to play queen takes f1. So he's going to be getting his exchange back. And if I don't take it, so let's say I play, I don't know, move my rook. Let's say I play rook to b1. Then I have a whole other problem with knight f3 check. And notice how this is pinned, and he will be winning my queen. So there's actually only one move that holds a slight advantage for white, very slight advantage for white, and I'm shocked the engine gives this a brilliant move, but I think the knight h2 should be a brilliant move. The brilliant move that the engine gives is king takes h2, and I felt like his move was more brilliant, but so be it. If this is the only good move, then at least I found it. So queen takes f1, and so now he's threatening mate on g2, so I have to go f3 to laterally defend g2, but I mean my advantage has gone to essentially nothing here. I'm up no material. Materials equal. I have a knight and 2 pawns, and he has a rook, so it's kind of equal-ish here. It's unbalanced though, so a lot can still happen. He goes e6, and I really need to start going knight a4, knight c5, so I do that. And he goes king e7, and I really think I should probably just go knight c5 right away, but I trade, which is not necessarily a great idea. It doesn't really make a lot of sense. I don't know why I didn't play knight c5. I don't know what I was scared of. And then I go queen e3, which is also not a very good move, allowing his king to kind of scoot over. And I go g3 here just to stop his mate threat. See, that's the problem with queen e3 is I undefend g2, and I really should just go knight c5 right away and then threaten queen e3, but instead I go in the wrong order here, and he goes queen c4. I put my knight on c5, which was kind of the whole plan. Give up this pawn, scoop my king up, and now he has to bring his queen back to defend. He doesn't have time to play queen takes a2 here. He's gonna find himself in quite a bit of trouble after queen e6, king to f8, and then something like queen f6 or queen c8. The queen and the knight are simply going to be too strong there. So he has to drop his queen back to defend. He goes queen f5 check, and I just drop my king back. I realize that I have a draw here at best. I don't really have much to play for here. But he goes king to g8. I give a check. He goes there. And then knight e6 is a bit of an inaccuracy. He should go rook to b7 here, or queen to c2, followed by something along those lines. If he wants to repeat a move, play queen c2, king h3, queen f5. I think rook b7 definitely gives him chances. The engine doesn't say it's completely winning, but it is very, very close to winning. But instead, he just chooses to go for this draw at the end with queen takes f3, knight g5 check. You have to give up the rook, and then he has a perpetual at the end, and we agreed to a draw. But I thought this game was very tactical game. There was a very interesting imbalance there with the knight and 2 pawns versus the rook. There were some very nice tactics throughout the game that led to a very interesting game. And although I didn't win this game, I thought it was a very fun game to play, and thought you guys would enjoy seeing this game. So I'm going to keep playing the Jobava London, and I'll probably keep making videos. So I'll see you guys next time.